You know, all this front page newspaper business, I'm kind of getting sick of it now. I think Robert F. Kennedy or Marianne Williamson needs to shut these newspapers down and get just some normal news, like straight, normal, mature news, like you used to think it was when you were a little kid. I mean, all the things they're trying to stop and ban, but they don't want to get rid of all this absolute complete trash and smut and just really horrible format of the news, which sets people's attitude. You know, this "so sorry I killed him." You know, the newspapers are in with these entities that are doing all the trouble. And it's coming through on the front covers of the newspapers, you know. It is just complete and total provocation. I don't actually believe that in the First Amendment, the freedom of the press, I don't think that it means that the press have any privileges or freedoms, so to say. All this phone hacking or listening in, they seem to know everything you say and everything you do. I think that it is, you know, when you're looking for this whole intel, the newspapers are part of the country's intelligence, the industrial military complex. The newspapers are actually part of that. They're part of the regime, and they're serving the regime and gathering intel for the regime, but claiming that it's for the public interest or whatever. There is no newspaper's right to know anything about anything. There's no newspaper right at all whatsoever to know anything. Nothing. Right? None. If someone goes to them with a story of something what's happened, then they've reported it. Right? But the newspaper is not actually the police. You know, trying to find, finding stories. While they're looking around finding a story, they've got no rights whatsoever because a story is not a crime. So, if there's no crime, how do they know what they're investigating? Now, if they are investigating, and they're doing policing work, then, this is the thing with petitioning. But the wording of the freedom of the press, it's actually meant the press is free to use. That's why it's got public notices. It's got public notices because it had to have it in there to have so people could access it because the press is free. And as the newspaper gets taken over by more and more business and corporate advertising who can afford it and they want to make more money out of it, they're doing the newspaper for a profit rather than actually for the public. And they've got more and more writers there picking and choosing what stories they want to cover rather than, actually what people are going to see them with from the public. People in local areas ringing the newspaper up. It is actually, and then you've got the whole element of, what incidents are set up or not. It's got, that freedom of the press has got absolutely nothing to do with any immunities or, trespass or other rights that would give them a right to do anything more than a normal person walking around on the road. And it's been misconstrued to, they've twisted it and interpreted it to kind of make it sound like they are free to do what they want. Well, they're not. And it doesn't mean that. It doesn't even mean anything to do with that. The right to petition means that we are actually free to do things without being prosecuted. But the newspaper is not actually a petition or calling on the government for anything, and they're not getting anyone to sign it. So the newspapers can and should be prosecuted. It's not a officially declared campaign unless they're, sending out, forms for people to sign and fill in. Unless you call it 24 hour a day, 365 day a year lobbying. But then, then the newspapers are basically a lobbying agent for private organisations, and the newspapers of which we are supposed to be able to actually use ourselves, which no one can afford, they've scrapped all the free ads that were supposed to be free. Freedom of the press, well, it should be free, because in the old smaller newspapers, put in public notices, actually didn't have to pay if you weren't making any money, you weren't making a profit out of it. So, I think that all these newspapers need to be shut down and prosecuted and charged, and I will be, it will be, that would be something, because they're all just, it's literally like, it's literally almost like it literally is an extension of, the British government, establishment, royal family, and corporate entities of Murdoch now.